All right, hello and welcome. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker. And today we are going into the KAPE room, and we're going to look at the Kroll artifact parser and extractor for collecting and processing forensic artifacts. This is a part of the digital forensics and incident response module of the SOC Level 1 pathway of TryHackMe. And as you can see, we've done all of these modules so far. We've obviously done all of these guys as well. And it's been a cool experience so far and a wonderful journey. And we're getting to the end of it. We're almost at the end. So this is going to be the room about KAPE. If you're studying to become a security analyst or a penetration tester, ethical hacker, if you want to go into digital forensics, any of that stuff, I recommend that you like, subscribe, and follow, or turn on that notification bell so that you get notified the next time a video comes out. Maybe even drop a comment just to say hi, or if you have any questions. Two things happen when you do that. Number one, you obviously get notified and you can just tag along with us as we go through this whole thing, and all of these things will actually apply to your pathway of for your certifications or for your career path. Whatever you're doing, these things will directly apply to you. But the second thing also is that it kind of does help the channel with the YouTube algorithm, so that YouTube can find us and help us gain a little bit more reach, so that we can find awesome people just like you, so that we can grow this community and really help as many people as we can with their path to security analysis and ethical hacking, all that stuff. So I think it's a win-win situation, and it would mean the world to me if you were part of our community. Okay, so jumping into the learning objectives for this room, basically we're going to be revisiting Windows Forensics, and we did Forensics 1 and Forensics 2 as a part of this pathway already. So if you haven't watched these two videos right here, I would highly recommend that you go watch those first, because I think we're going to be touching on a lot of topics about that. And then what we're going to be doing is learning about KAPE, how KAPE works, and the different targets and modules about KAPE and collecting analysis data. And so just to give you the introduction to KAPE, it's the Kroll artifact parser and extractor, and it parses and extracts Windows forensics artifacts. So the name kind of says it all, right? It's a tool that can reduce the time needed to respond to an incident by doing a lot of things for you. So it'll collect files and it'll process those collected files per whatever options you choose. And it works very similar to this. So this is kind of the flow of it. So you choose a source, which would be either the live system mounted image or some kind of F response. I don't know what that means. Then you would use your target options, and then the destinations, so where they're going to be copied from and going into, and then the module options, and then the output that's going to come out of that. And without spending too much time reading through this, I think we're going to be doing a lot of this stuff in the actual lab work itself, so I don't want to take too much of the steam away from that. The mounted image or the F response utility is what I'm more interested in figuring out what that means. KAPE doesn't need to be installed. It's portable. It can be run from network locations or USB drives. So I've seen that happen a lot in forensic environments. So I think that's one of the things that's pretty cool about it. And then we're going to start it, and then we're going to log into it. So the first question says, from amongst KAPE exe and gKAPE exe, which binary is used to run a GUI version of KAPE? And I'm going to say gKAPE for the graphic KAPE exe. And there's that. So simple enough and easy enough. So right here, and it also gives us the details, right? There's these two. The first is the CLI version, and the second is the GUI version, symbolized by the G. So that I figured out without even having to read that. So look at me. Okay, so we're going to start this machine, and we're going to log into the machine, and we're going to start messing around with some of these options and tools that's available inside of KAPE. Okay, the machine is almost loaded, and while that's happening, let's just read through this real quick. So in the KAPE lexicon, targets are essentially what we're going to be collecting information from. And then, so as they mention over here, is that in short, targets copy from files. And then it says here, it's in short, targets copy files from one place to another. when we open the targets directory of KAPE, this is what it's going to look like. So you get a bunch of different types of things that you can go after. And all of these things are selectable, obviously. And then these last four are guides that can teach you how to create your own targets if you wanted to. When you open one of these, so if we open the windows, you'll see that there's a bunch of different options available, and they all end with the TKAPE extension, which means that these are targets for KAPE. And then you can use these individually. So if we want to open the prefetch one, and we looked at how prefetch is collected, this is essentially it, right? So the name, and then the path for it, and then the file mask is PF, and then there's the old version of Windows that also has a prefetch folder as well. And so with the file mask PF from the path such and such, notice that we have Windows old listed as well because it contains stuff after Windows has updated. And then there's the compound targets, which is more in line with the overall purpose of KAPE, because if you had to individually extract things, it would kind of be counterproductive. So when you do compound targets, it includes multiple targets in one extraction. So we have the basic collection, the sans triage, KAPE triage, and I think there's even more. And then you can view the compound targets on the path KAPE targets compound, and it'll show you what all the different ones are. This particular one that we're looking at is going to look at prefetch, recent file cache, the AM cache, and the sys cache. And then it'll extract all of that for you, or extract and analyze, right? So then you have the disabled directory. It contains targets that you want to keep in KAPE instance, but you don't want them to appear in the active target list. And then you have the local directory that have targets that you don't want to sync with KAPE. GitHub repository, you can place them in this directory, and there'll be targets that are specific to your environment. Similarly, anything not present in GitHub when we update KAPE will be moved to the local directory. So the first question right here is, what is the extension? And it's TKAPE for target KAPE. And then what type of target will do multiple, which would be compound target. And we have that. So now we can try to see if we can actually log into the thing. The task doesn't require us to do it so far. So we'll see maybe the next one, the module options, maybe we'll actually require to use KAPE in this one. All right, so modules run specific tools against provided set of files. It's not to copy from one place to another, which might be the goal of target, but to just basically run some command and store the output. And this is what it looks like inside of the modules directory. And then you'll see that there's guides here as well. And there's the compound, local, disabled, all that stuff. A lot of things are similar with the exception of bin being one of the extra things that exists here that was not in targets. And if we were to just open the Windows version, this is kind of what it would look like, where it has some PowerShell stuff. It ends with mKAPE instead of TKAPE. And then you have Windows Net and a lot of other things as well. And this is what a sample one looks like, where the executable is the ipconfig executable, which pulls up all the IP configurations of the machine that you're on. And then you want all of them to be exported in a text format inside of ipconfig. And so it can do that for you pretty quickly. And then there's a mention right here that it says, what if the executable that we want to run is not present on the system? That brings us to the bin directory. And inside the bin directory, you'll find executables that we want to run, but they're not natively present on most systems. And that could be anything from the AM cache to B strings to the JLEC. We messed with JLEC when we were in a previous room inside the digital forensics. So all of these things could not necessarily be present in all systems, and sometimes you want to be able to run these things and get the output exported in a text file. So that's the modules. So that would be mKAPE is the extension of this, and the stuff that doesn't exist would be inside a bin. And so just like that, we are done with modules. And the very first thing, or the very next thing that we're going to be looking at is the KAPE GUI. So from here, we might actually be able to open up the KAPE GUI and see what we can do. All right, for the KAPE GUI, this first image right here is not available. It's like a broken image, so I can't see what they clicked on, but they said to expand into a full screen, and then this is typically what it should look like. So I'm going to click around in the machine to see if I can actually find the KAPE GUI, I think, which is it's inside the KAPE folder probably, and then from there we'll just be able to kind of see all of the things that they're referring to over here and just click around with some things. Let's do it in a split screen format and just see if we could open up that GKAPE, or not the GKAPE, the KAPE folder, and see what we can find in here. There is GKAPE here, which is the GUI application, so that should probably be it, honestly. And then from there we can look at all of this stuff. So it says you can see that there are different options. Most are disabled. To collect targets, we're going to go to enable targets, so using target options, and then target source, target destination. If you want to change the target source, you would click on it. It would be the root folder of the machine, and then you have a destination where it's going to be output to. The flush checkbox has been, it'll delete all the contents of the target destination, so we have to be careful when you use that. We have disabled flush checkbox so that it does not delete anything. Add the %D right here will append the date info to the directory name when we collected the data, and add the %M will append the machine info. And we can select our desired target, and search bar helps us to search for the names of the target quickly. And there is that. So we can select if we want to process volume shadow copies by VSCs, and you can click on that. We can select the transfer checkbox if you want to transfer it into an SFTP server or an S3 bucket, which is an Amazon Web Services bucket. For transfer, the files must be enclosed in a container, which can be a zip or via etc. Similarly, we can provide exclusions based on the SHA1, and KAPE will not copy the excluded files. When enclosing the container, we'll need to give them a base name that will be used for all created files. It's not required if we're not transferring or enclosing them in a container. In the current command line tab, we can see that the command line options are currently running. I guess this is the one that probably loads. This window shows more options in command line as we add options. So yeah, this just updates everything that's going to be ran in the command line as you're selecting stuff in the GUI. And then there's a T flush flag here. That means that the command was created and the flush checkbox was still checked. Then you have the use module options. So they have the target options checked already, and then we're going to do the use modules. And then from here, you can start selecting modules, right? The selected modules in this particular case is 4N6. 4N6-2 is what's been selected right here. And there's no flush command or anything. Obviously, this thing updated in the command section at the bottom. So KAPE triage compound target and the easy parser compound module. So you can see that right here. So the name of it is right here. Easy parser, you can't see the full thing. And then you have KAPE triage as the compound target. And that is all of it right there. The command line below shows that it's running. The execute button in the bottom right will execute the command. The disable flush warnings checkbox underneath it will not warn us when we're using the flush flags. When we press execute, we'll see a command line window open and show the logs as KAPE performs this task. It takes a few minutes, hopefully not 20-30 minutes. And once it completes, it'll show us the total execution time, and we can pass any key to terminate the window. And so let's see, 4.27 seconds. Let's see what the total execution time, 258 seconds, which is approximately 4 minutes, like 4.5 minutes, a little bit less. Notice that the backend KAPE is running. On a command line, we can check out the files created by KAPE once it completes them, and the below snapshot shows the module destination. And KAPE has processed files according to different categories. And you can see all of that here in the destination. So let's collect triage data using the KAPE triage package, process it using easy parser module, and answer the questions below. We can then proceed to learn about KAPE CLI. So did it start? It seems like it hasn't started. I double clicked it and it seems like it has not started. So let's go open it up in this window right here in the full screen, and let's see if it'll actually work when launched in the full screen. Hopefully it will. Okay, so we now have this loaded and we can choose some targets here. So the target is going to be the source, just like that, and the destination. I'm going to create one myself, which is going to be on the desktop, and I'll make a new folder on the desktop and we will call it TKAPE for target KAPE. And then that's going to be the folder that we'll choose. And from there, we're going to do what was the option? It was a KAPE triage, right? I said, yeah, run the KAPE triage package and process it using the easy parser. So we're going to look for the KAPE triage package, and I could probably search for it. So KAPE triage, there it is. I'm going to use this thing, and now we can go over here, and I'm just going to, it's an empty directory, but I'm going to turn off flush just in case. And then the module source is going to be the same, right? It should be in the same place. Let's see where they put their module source or module destination. They put it in a different location. So it's on the desktop as well, but just a different location. So we will give it a new location as well. And I will do a new folder and we're going to call it mkape for module. And there's that. And now we want to use the easy parser. And that's pretty much it. That's all we got. That's all the options that they told us to run. And now we're going to go click execute in the bottom. And it says, what is it? Oh, so let me turn off flush here too, just in case. And there we go. They're both empty directories, so it should be fine. Okay, so there you go. We just chose our selections. That was actually very simple and straightforward. And now it's running. So it will take however long it takes. And once it's done, I will come back and we'll look at the output of this thing, and then we'll go and check out the two new folders that we created, the TKAPE and mkape, and see what we can find to answer those questions. Alrighty then. So it seems that it finished. It did not take 4 minutes. Took significantly longer than that. What are we kind of call it? Maybe like 12 minutes, I think is what it was. A little bit over 12 minutes. Towards the beginning, nothing was happening. The screen was pretty much blank for a good couple of minutes. And after maybe 4 or 5 minutes is when the results started actually outputting onto the screen. And then these types of things started showing. But for a long time, it was literally just blank. And then after, maybe 4 or 5 minutes is when it kind of started printing this portion of it, and then all of a sudden started using the targeting and then deferring and yada yada yada, and it finally got to the very end of it, and it hasn't given me the command of press any key to exit. It just gave me total execution time 258 seconds, whatever. It gave me the total execution time here. So I'm just not going to close this for now, just in case it still needs to do some things in the background. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and answer these questions here. And this is, oh, you know what? It seems like I didn't even need to do anything because it says in the second to last screenshot, and then what option has to be checked and what option needs to be checked. So I didn't even need to run that apparently. So there is that, just so you know. And we could have just used the screenshots above to answer these questions. So I feel a little bit silly right now, but whatever. At least I ran it, and now I know what could be done, and you kind of got a sample of what could be done. I feel really silly, but all right, moving on. In the second to last screenshot, what target have we selected for collection? So this is the screenshot, and then second to last screenshot would probably be this thing. And so the target that we chose is, it says target source is this, and then the target destination is this, and target is KAPE triage. So that's the target, and we're going to use that. And then in the second to last screenshot, what module have we selected? and the module name is the easy parser, and it was being done through the GUI as we saw. What option has to be checked to append the date and time? And that was percentage D, I believe, from what I saw. Let's verify that. So it's add percentage D, and then there's add percentage M. So they're just asking for the thing. So it's percentage D is date and time, and percentage M is that. And I didn't even need to run this freaking report. How crazy is that? Learn from my mistakes, you guys. Please learn from my mistakes. Okay, so we got the KAPE GUI taken care of. Now we're going to go to the KAPE CLI. All right, the KAPE CLI, the command line interface, essentially does everything that we just saw here, right? So you can go and create these commands down here and just do it in a command line interface. And it's very similar to this, like it's almost identical to this. The only thing that doesn't show is this dot backslash at the beginning. But apart from that, it's pretty much the same. So you would, first if you just did, if you're inside the KAPE folder and you just run kape.exe, it'll show you all the options. And then you can see that, T source would be the target source, target configuration to use, meaning the target specific choice of target you want to use, the target destination, the flush if you wanted to flush it. Then you have the module source, the module itself, the module destination, module flush. If you wanted to output these things to a S3 bucket, for example, all of these things are available, and you can just create the command as so. And so the way that we would run it would very much be what you kind of saw in the other section, and you would start with adding kape.exe, then you would have your target source, and then you would add the target for the specific target that you want to use. Then you use your target destination, and this is just a basic series of commands that you have to have in order for this to run. And then if you wanted to do target flush, you could do that, but if you leave it out, then it doesn't do target flush. And then after this, you can start doing a module destination. And so it says you can do a module source in similar to the T source, but in this case, let's use the target destination as a module source. By doing this, we won't need to add it explicitly, and we can move to adding the module destination using module destination. So they just skipped module source in this series of commands, and they only added the module destination, which is the output folder for where that's going to go, and then you have the output folder for where the target's going to go. And then from here, you add the module itself, which is the easy parser, and that's it. And you just press enter, and you just need to make sure that you're running this with an administrator privileges shell in order for that to work. And that's it. Now there's a really cool option that exists if you are managing people, or if you want to do this, I guess, a little bit simpler and quicker for future reference. There's a file called _kape.cli that needs to be in the same exact folder that the kape.exe folder is executed or is sitting in. And then if you fill this up, it basically runs whatever your command is. So exactly the same command that you had before, it would just run it when you run kape.exe, and then it'll do it according to this. And that's it. So it's very, very simple. They say that, if you have to perform the same task as we did earlier, we would need to create it to do this. If you want to, it can be used to have someone run KAPE for you. You'll need to create a command in a single line, and the person just really needs to right click on it and run KAPE as an administrator, meaning right click on kape.exe and run KAPE as an administrator. And then the first thing that it'll do is it'll check if this file exists, and if that file exists, it'll just run whatever command has been set inside that file. So if the person that you delegate to doesn't know how to do this, you can literally just tell them, don't worry about it, just right click on KAPE and run it as administrator when you get to the crime scene or whatever, and then it'll run the command for you, and it'll do the triage for you. It'll take 10-15 minutes, yada yada yada. So it's actually a very cool feature. And most things can be done like this. Most tools have some kind of an option like this. It's just that it doesn't come inherent to the tool, and this comes inherent to the tool. In other cases, you would have to create external file and then know which commands or series of commands to run in order for that file to be included in your overall execution of this tool, but this comes inherent to KAPE exe, where it just searches for this, and if those things don't exist, it'll ask you what commands you want to run. So very, very useful, and it could be done pretty well. So now it says run KAPE exe in an elevated shell. Take a look at the different switches and variables. What variable adds the collection timestamp to the destination? So now I guess I gotta run it, and it's asking me to do it. And so collection timestamp could be D, so %D could be it. Let's see what other options that we can find here. I can also just do a command find to look for that, and timestamp shows up in one of two instances. Where's that? And then you have inside here. So I'm just going to do %D, and that would be the answer. What variable adds the machine information to the target destination? And that would be M. Which switch can be used to show debug information during processing? So let's look at debug as a thing, and it says show debug information during processing, so that would be debug, and we can run that. And which switch is used to list all targets available? And let's see, we'll do targets combined, and then see what we can find. So list available targets for targets directory. So that would be TList is probably, TList would be the option that we're looking for. So I'm just going to go back to the bottom of the screen and do TList. And then which flag, when used with batch mode, will delete the kape.cli targets and module files after the execution is complete? So what we can do is, let's see, we can do delete. Let's see what shows up for delete. Delete all files in T-destination prior to execution, delete all files in MDES prior to execution, and then KAPE will delete KAPE CLI in both target module directories upon exiting, so it could be CU, and or will not be deleted, so that's not it. So CU probably is what we need to look at, and there it is. So we got it. So just like that, we were able to answer all of these questions as well, and I didn't need to run any commands or anything inside the CLI, but maybe the hands-on challenge will finally make me feel not too bad about running this freaking thing. So let's see what the hands-on challenge is all about. All right, the organization X has an acceptable use policy for their portable devices, including laptops. This policy forbids users from connecting removable or network devices, or network drives, installing software from unknown locations and connecting to unknown networks. It looks like one of the users has violated this policy. Can we help organization X find out if the user violated the acceptable use policy on their device? The user's machine is attached to the room as a VM, which is the one that we have. So navigate to KAPE and run KAPE with your desired target and module options and answer the following questions. So I think maybe this thing was not wasted. I think I needed to do all of this just for this exercise. So now I can go through the outputs that I got and see what I can find. So the question for one is 2 USB mass storage devices were attached to this virtual machine. One had a serial number of this ending in ABCDE. What is the serial number of the other USB device? And the hint says check the registry folder, any artifacts related to USB mass storage devices. Ignore input devices, Bluetooth devices, or root hubs. So we're going to open up the TKAPE and let's go to C and let's see what we can find here. Okay, so it's actually not in the targets folder, it's inside the module folder. And inside the module folder, there is a registry, and then there is this one, and look at all these things. So there's a lot of stuff that's inside this, and so we're looking for anything that has to do with, what is it saying? Mass storage devices, and any artifacts related to USB mass storage devices. Ignore the input devices, Bluetooth devices, or root hubs. So what I'm gonna do in here, and I'm gonna search for USB as something that might be relevant here. So we'll do a search up here for USB, and it gives me two particular options. USB Windows system, USB storage, and it could be one of those two. So let's look at the USB storage and see what shows up. And for looking at it, I'm gonna open it up with another app which is inside our desktop that they recommended, which is Easy Tools and Easy Viewer. So we're gonna use Easy Viewer to open up these CSV files real quick. Okay, inside Easy Viewer, there are only 2 items here. So what we need to do is we need to expand some of this information. Although it feels like I don't even need that information really. What I do need is the serial numbers, and there is A, B, C, D, E, and then there's the serial number for the other one, which is this thing right here. So I'm gonna copy this, and that is probably what they're looking for here. So we'll do that and submit that, and that is the right answer. Great. So 7-zip, Google Chrome, and Mozilla Firefox were installed from a network drive location on the virtual machine. What was the drive letter and path of the directory from where these software were installed? So 7-zip, Google Chrome were installed from a network drive location on the virtual machine. So we can, I guess I'll close this down because it just opens new windows for each one. So we're going to go back to mcape, and we're going to try to look at installations. I think it might be under system activity. All right, after doing some research, because it's going to take, instead of loading all of these things to try to find which one might have the information, I just did some research to see where that information might actually show up. And so it seems to be, and then we'll verify this right now, that it would be inside the automatic destinations that's inside file folder access. So this is still inside of the modules output folder that we found. And then from there, we're looking for file folder access inside of the automatic destinations that shows up under the file folder access. So let's see what shows up. Let's see what actually happens when we load this thing. And it's almost loaded. Okay, so here is the info that we're looking for. And it says 7-zip, Google Chrome, and Mozilla Firefox were installed from a network drive. So we can see what has been installed and then go from there. Okay, so after analyzing most of these columns, the only one that seems to be of interest would be the path column. And inside the path column, it shows a few different locations that activities have been done. And so you have the C drive with users and program files and all those things. And then if we just keep going further down, there are 2 other drives. One of them is the E drive and the KAPE folder, and then Z drive that includes setups. And so being that these are installations that have been happening, so the 7-zip and Chrome and Mozilla Firefox, these are things that seem to be installed. I would install them to set up a machine because you need a web browser, for example, and you need an unzip machine for or something that unzips files for you. So that seems like a setup type of thing. And so I'm going to just test setups. Oh, no, actually, it's not C, it's Z. Setups, yeah, and that's it. Okay, so that's basically it, because the rest of the information that's available here is not really very useful. So I guess that's the only thing that could have been relevant to what we're doing and what we're looking for. And from here now, we can kind of move on to the next one. There's another path right here. That's the absolute path. That is the my computer Z setups, but it doesn't give us anything as far as what was used or what was installed. So that's the part that's kind of I guess kind of questionable as to where we could find this information. But anyway, we found Z setups, and that is the right answer. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is what is the execution date and time of Chrome setup? And let's see what the hint is. This is in the recent apps in the registry. So I'm just gonna, this automatic places, I'm just gonna keep that open, and we're going to go back to the registry, and we're going to look for recent apps in the registry. And just searching for it, there's one that's actually called recent apps. So since Easy Viewer is already open, hopefully it won't take that long to load it. All right, here we go. We got our recent apps. I'm just going to expand all of these things just to make it a little bit easier to read these things. And so what we're looking for is the execution date and time of Chrome setup. And then you need month, date, year, so on and so forth. So the app ID is going to be this, I believe. And let's see, Chrome setup. And I have Chrome setup right here. And the execution date and time seems to just be this one column. There's nothing else attached to it. So 11/25/2021 at 3:33. So let's see if that works. All right, that was right. Now, what search query was run on the system? And that's going to be in the world wheel query. So let's see where that sits. Okay, so inside the registry folder, I searched for word wheel, and that also is in here. So we're going to open that one up and search through that. And we're looking for the search query that came from that. And then the next one is the network named network 3. So when was that first connected to? And the CAPE was copied from a removable drive. Can you find out what the drive letter of the CAPE was copied from? That was actually, I remember it was above, I think it's E. I think that's what it was. Yeah, it is E. Okay, so there you go. So I remember that because I saw it in the same place that we found the Z setup. So it was like right above it. So from there, now we can just go on to this word wheel and see what the term was. See, search term is run wallpaper setup. There we go. And then when was the network named network 3 first connected to? And that is last known networks. Okay, there's a file inside the registry called known networks. So we're going to search through that one and see if we can find the answer for this. And this is going to be our last answer before we can move on to the conclusion. So literally the home stretch. We got there. It took a little bit of time, but we definitely got there. All right, expanding our file here, we're looking for network 3, and there's only one line item with network 3, and we're looking for the I think they said first connected. So this is the first connected, right? First connected, yeah. So first connected local is 11/30/2021 at 15:44, and that should be the right format. And there we go, we got it. So it was not a waste to run that that scan using the CAPE GUI, even though they were just asking us to do it to answer the questions for that section. They were asking us to do it using the screenshot. So it was fine. I could have just let that scan run in the background while I was answering all of these questions, and then by the time that we got to the hands-on challenge, it would have probably been ready. But I waited for that to finish, and then I started answering these questions. So that kind of felt like a little bit of wasted time. So for your own sake, what you can do is when you get to the portion for the module options and it asks you, or the CAPE GUI, when you get to the portion for the CAPE GUI and it asks you to, or demonstrates how you can run a scan, definitely do that and then do the rest of it. And then hopefully by the time that you get to the hands-on challenge, you'll actually have your scan be finished, and then you can use the output of the hands-on challenge to answer those questions. So in conclusion, there really isn't much that they're going to share with us. So they just said that you can stick around and find out what other interesting artifacts you can find, and you can let us know what you found interesting on the Discord or Twitter channel. So this is a free room, so maybe that's why they're kind of not really, I mean, no, they usually, they promote other rooms when they get to the conclusion. So I guess for this one, we don't really have much to continue with, especially since the next thing is going to be volatility and velociraptor and stuff like that. So this was really the only thing that was attached to KAPE, which I think is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. This was definitely a learning experience for me. I like KAPE. I learned some very useful elements about KAPE using this room. So I think it's actually a great tool, and I'm excited about learning about the other ones. If you got any value in this room, if you learned anything, or if you just want to show a little bit of support, I invite you to like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and drop a comment. When you do any of those things, two things happen. Number one, the YouTube algorithm gives us a little bit more favor, and it helps us gain more reach so that we can grow the community and find more awesome people like you. But the more important thing is that when you turn on the notification bell, you get notified the next time a video comes out. And if you're learning to become a security analyst or a digital forensic specialist or ethical hacker or pen tester, all those things, then these paths and these videos are actually useful to you. They're directly applicable to you, which means that you get to learn things for your examinations as well as your day-to-day activities when you go into a new job. So I think it's a win-win situation, but that's my humble opinion. In either case, it would mean the world to me if you would join our community. This is your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you. Peace, love, chicken grease, or love, peace, and chicken grease. I'll probably say it like that because it seems a little bit more, streamlined. And yeah, I'll definitely see you in the next video. Peace.